Hi guys, welcome to the second part of paper 9. As you can see on screen, it is a very beautiful subject titled as strategic management. Now, I've been teaching strategic management for about a decade now, and I personally like this subject very well for one reason that it is not just a paper in the exam, or it is not just about being a subject in our curriculum. It is more of a way of life. It teaches not only what a business should do, it also teaches so many things that we can learn to become better individuals. So there are some excellent concepts and certain latest incorporations. Now, in the modern world, we do have what is called as digitization taking over everywhere. So there is a chapter that is introduced called as digital strategy. Then at many instances, you might have heard words like vision, mission, objectives. And many people might ask you also, what's your long term vision? So, what is the actual vision, right? How can we achieve this vision? How can we break that vision into further things called mission, objectives? Then everybody has a way of life, right? So, organization also has a way of life. Each organization, they have their way of life, and that is titled as culture. I think all of you can relate to that word, as I say, because most times when we are discussing about any tradition, aspect, superstition, whatever by name you call it, it eventually boils down to this particular thing called culture. Traditions, values, beliefs, thoughts, thought processes. So all of that will be in turn described under culture. Somewhere or the other, the businessman's thought process will also influence a business's culture. Correct? We cannot business and business entity are two different things. I think all of you are also students of accounting, so you know that business and entity are two different things. Business entity concept, all of you are well aware. But only thing here you need to understand is when it comes to thinking, when it is accounting, business and entity are different. But since business entity can't think on its own, businessman has to think on behalf of the entity. So if I have a certain thought process, like if the businessman is very ethical, business will also run a very ethical way. If businessman turns out to be an unethical person, then business also will be unethical, right? So how you have to take the best of all this, because somewhere or the other deep down, people have always thought about right and wrong and less of good and bad. So this subject also teaches you how to balance the good and bad of it. So we do have a little bit of ethical aspects to the story, because I do understand all of you have studied various laws, right? Laws are about compliance. You like it, you don't like it, you're supposed to comply when it comes to a law. But asking somebody to do business also in that context may not be a very appropriate thing. So I might not like something, but I still have to do it because it's compliance. And in business, these sort of things are often, it also creates what is called as an ethical dilemma or an emotional dilemma. And there are some good concepts in your book which are titled as emotional intelligence. Anyway, I don't want to kind of tell you the greatness of this subject. I want you to experience it. Though this paper right now is only for 40 marks, as you know, part A is for 60 marks and this is for 40. So, and a very limited syllabus only is there, 4 chapters only are there. So I have very basic prerequisites, only two prerequisites. I always tell every student, listen to the class very carefully, because there is no substitute for that listening. Nobody can listen on your behalf, so only you should do that, and then have a proper revision pattern. Okay, when you finish a class, and that is why I'm telling you all this in the very beginning. So this 5-10 minutes of basic introduction, the discussion that I'm having with you, no matter how good we do the subject, it all boils down to writing the exam. See, end of the day, how much knowledge you have, how well you understood, all these are judged on the basis of marks. Now, I personally may not be a person who will judge you based on all that, but again, like I said, bottom line, you still have to respect academics. You are a student, I'm a faculty. End of the day, irrespective of how much knowledge, we are going to have a lot of fun through the subject. A lot of good examples are there, a lot of very practical examples are there, so you will have a fun ride, that I'm pretty sure. But in all this fun, we should not forget, eventually we have an exam which is for 100 marks, of which this is for 40 marks, and our best abilities are to use to score that marks as much as possible. Now if you prepare well, I'm just saying that you might again hitting 40 on 40 on this sort of a paper, that too where you're writing, again like I said, is possible if the institute wishes to give. Otherwise, scoring in 30s, anywhere between 30 to 35 is very much possible, but it again needs a lot of concentration in the class, because you do have fill in the blanks, MCQs, things that make life easy in the objective type. But if you want to score well there, then you need to have a attention to detail, every small thing that we discuss in class. I'll On screen you can keep seeing that I will be underlining so many things. I'll make certain things as points and notes. So what I suggest you is, you don't, anyway you're going to have this material with you, so there is no reason why you have to write down everything again. And before we go on a long term basis, I want it to be very clear that I will not be sitting and dictating notes again from this. So makes no sense. Let's learn the crude thing. One point is there, that nobody can retain everything of what is there in the book, including me, right? So understand the concept. That is what is going to come your way, and I think you should experience the rest. I don't want to give so much only in terms of introduction. So just scrolling through to the index, guys. We're just going by 4 topics. Chapter 8 being the introduction. Chapter 9 is a very interesting chapter. It talks about what do you need to do before you start making plan, because many people know, they think only after what's a like what is not in our control. So here might want to talk about analysis, which is a very interesting stuff, and then based on that analysis we will plan. Then putting a strategy on paper is called formulation, and then putting that strategy into action. So formulation is a on paper activity, while implementation will be putting it in action. So this again would turn to be very interesting when you see that. And then of course, as I was mentioning some time back, we are in an era of digitization. Post the 2016 exercise of demonetization, the economy started blooming out to become a digital economy. I hope all of you know that the circulation of cash has come down. People started using digital modes. And see, one of the most important things in digitization is the completion of transaction. I'm not saying e-commerce came yesterday. E-commerce is there from decades, right? But digitization, the ease of use of all the devices, right? Because again, introduction of a person like, or I mean, introduction of an entity like Geo into the market, wherein Geo comes in and reduces the cost of using internet to one of the lowest in the world. When that happened, so like this, there are several transformations that took place, and all of this resulted in better digitization. Then, of course, we all know that we were in a grave situation of a pandemic for quite a lot of time, right? Roughly about 18 months, there were work from homes. People used to order everything online. So we had orders of food online, we have orders of groceries online. People like Swiggy and Zomato, they made their run. People like Big Basket and Grofers, they made their run. There are a lot of businesses that didn't that they were not there alive, they came alive. And then we had tech entities like Zoom, like SparkUp. Then it was a roaring time for all the OTT platforms like Netflix, Amazon, all of them. And then, of course, of the post-pandemic effects, everybody has, all of them were doing roaring business, and then it slightly had come down, and then layoffs, and a lot of things happened. The fact being that this entirely transformed the business world into a digital world. So to win in the digital world, of course, entities need digital strategy. Small but very interesting topic is what I feel, and I am again 8, 9, 10 are very procedural parts of strategic management. So you learn it from me, you learn it from somebody else. You go to Harvard, you go to Stanford. You go to one of the best business schools in the world, they are not going to teach you anything different in terms of what strategic management is. Now, I do understand everybody's teaching style can be different, examples can be different, and the situation around things that can be different. But ideally speaking, strategic management as a concept will not really change. But again, as of now, if I have to look at something really interesting, it will be digital strategy. Some interesting points are also there. So through this, we will cover up all of that. It's a very, very limited content syllabus, guys. So properly focus in class, listen to everything of what I say, whatever notes or additional points that I'm making on screen. If you wish to make that, you can always make it on your own, but primary focus should be on listening to what I say, underline, mark things whatever I am dealing with. Because in the verge of you making your own notes, if you are not concentrating on what the subject is, eventually the whole exercise won't turn out to be very fruitful. All right, so I think, yeah, like I said, that let's grab that little 10-minute quick talk there, and I hope you will enjoy all the classes in great detail, right? So on that note, let's get to our very first chapter, guys. That is chapter number 8, which is an introduction to the story. And today I'm going to discuss with you two very, very important terms which are going to justify the title of this subject, which is called as strategic management. So again, a few sort of topics, as you can see in the very first chapter, ranging from introduction of the word strategy, then to management, then combinedly we're trying to understand the word strategic management, its objectives, trying to understand some of the factors in the environment that will direct all this. We can see all of that there. And then how each individual in an organization is going to contribute to the overall organizational success, because it sometimes so happens that organization is going like this, but individual thought process going like this. Such organization will never win, because these two have to coincide somewhere and meet. So if they are not coinciding, what could turn out to be the problem? If they are well coinciding, how that organization will be successful? We can see that. And towards the end, we have a couple of interesting topics again called the balance scorecard approach, which is a great thing to know, that you have to tick all boxes, in the sense, sometimes people tend to focus more on something and very less on something. And that splits the balance there. But what is balance scorecard, and how we give equal importance to things that are needed. And then comes a very interesting concept called EVA, which is economic value added. And there is a formula for that. And I think I should explain you whenever we get there. Okay. So for now, uh, I will start discussing the word strategy with you. That's going to be a very basic introductory discussion that we should be having. Then, if you see that, I'll introduce you to two words here. First, we will talk about what is strategy, right? Then we will discuss this word management. No matter how hard we try to buy hard, it's not going to work. So again, my honest request is that you stay focused on the content. Clarity of the concept is very important. Rest of it will automatically follow. Now there are so many instances where you will feel that, yeah, I understood this topic now, okay, it's very cool, but 2 or 3 days later you might forget. It is not a problem. All you need to do is to sit back, relax, and revise the topic once again, and everything that you discussed will neatly or smoothly come back to your memories. So you have to work out on these small techniques to make sure that you retain, because it's a very elaborate thing that you're picking up. Because no matter whether you write both groups or one group, syllabus is going to be huge at any given point of time. Each subject is for 100 marks, and each has its own content, right? And on top of that, you have your own personal aspects to deal with. So keeping all this in mind, and I'm more of a person who believes that education also should be fun, it should not be pressure. Because if you are putting yourself under pressure, then education will never be something that we will do very wholeheartedly. So guys, don't focus just on writing down what is there on screen, or simply trying to by heart what is there in the book. Strike a balance. You have subscribed to the classes for some reason, and make sure that you stick to it, right? So like I said, we are obviously close to about 15 minutes into the class, and I want all of you now to start off concentrating on this word right here called strategy. What is a strategy? Now you know this word is being used in like cricket very often. We know that, oh, today Dhoni won a match. It's a great strategy. Virat Kohli used this strategy to score like this. Roger Federer had this strategy back then when he was playing great tennis. Rafael Nadal's strategy is something. People have used this word strategy so much in the context of sports. Also, I think a few days before, or like few months before, you can call, or quite some time, wars have taken place. And even in today's time, I think all of you know the Russia Ukraine episode. War is a very critical thing, or a term that's been heard in the news, and all people have used this word strategy in the context of war. To be very clear with you, the word strategy actually had originated in the context of war only. Okay, what is the war strategy? So accordingly, this word has generally its origins are from war. Okay, we will not go into the depth of what it is and why it is, because that's not our business right now. But this is an additional information I definitely want you guys to know, that the origin of this generally in military and defense areas, that's where this word strategy is like commonly used. Now, what exactly you mean by strategy? Strategy is a action plan. Strategy is a action plan. In other words, you can also call it a plan of action. It is not action, it's a plan of action. There's a huge difference between both. Plan is still only on paper, the execution part comes later. So that is exactly, you have words like strategic planning. First you're planning, then strategy formulation, whereby you're putting it on paper, then strategy implementation. So all these are aspects that take place one after the other, provided you start off with something. You got it? So basically, strategy is that action plan. And when it comes to the time frame, see, I can have a plan for today, tomorrow, day after. I can have a plan for any amount of time, right? But strategy is an action plan, and it's, you can also call it as a long range blueprint. Strategy is a long range blueprint. I think all of you are well aware that blueprint is something that you must have seen it in a shopping mall. They'll put it on the wall, right? The floor plan. Like if you are constructing a house, there'll be a blueprint. Blueprint basically is expression of an idea on paper. Okay, so strategy is that kind of a action plan, which is a long range blueprint. Now, obviously, when you're saying long range blueprint, the next question will be of what? So long range blueprint of an organization's, a long range blueprint of an organization's, what it wants to ultimately achieve. Desired image, direction, and destination. Okay, strategy is the long range blueprint of an organization's desired image, direction, and destination. So this is one part of the story where the word only strategy has been discussed here. Okay, because we will talk about its relevance to the word management and construct what is strategic management. All this we'll do later. For now, this is what strategy is all about. Okay, a plan, simple. Then let's go to the other word, keeping this context of strategy on one side. Okay, let's go to the other side here, wherein we are talking about this word called management. Okay, what exactly is this word management? Now, here strategy. Okay, then let's talk about the word management. There are multiple, expressions to this word management, but I want all of you to understand one thing, that where management is used very commonly is in two contexts. Okay, so sometimes you hear people saying go and talk to the management. That is one thing. There they are referring to go and talk to the management means what? Are they asking you to go and talk to something? No, right? They're asking you to talk to people, generally used in colleges or any place They tell you like, hotel. If you have a problem with, seating or something like that, you'll be like, sir, I'll call the manager. Please talk to them. If you are in a educational institution, you're asking for, like a transfer or something like that. Sir, it's not our decision. It is the management who has to take a decision, they will tell. So when they are referring to people, sometimes they use the word management. Sometimes they use the word management in the context of activities, planning, organizing. Okay, so let me, instead of just telling you things in the air, pull it up. Management is used in two contexts. Okay, first one, as I just told you, it is about referring to key group of people in the organization, key group of persons or key group of people in an organization. There are a lot of other definitions in the books, guys. This is basically something that I want to understand, so that we have a proper rapport in terms of, like our pattern of understanding should be very clear, because we can always read what is there in the book and try to understand it, but trying to understand something as it is, as what it is, that's what is the most important thing. And of course, that is why, the session value addition should be there. No end of it, if I read what is there in the book and tell you, you also read that, you won't. So please try to understand every part that we deal here will add value to what you are learning. Key group, who are these key group? Now you think about somebody like Mr. Mukesh Ambani from Reliance is a key group, key member. So do you consider Mr. Mukesh Ambani to be the part of management of Reliance? Yes. Now he is one of the public figures, so we know him. So can you tell me who are the top 3 employees of Reliance? Sorry, not you. I also can't tell because we don't know. We don't need to track. If you're talking about Tatas, you'll talk about Mr. Ratan Tata. He's been one of the prime persons leading Tata for a long time. So now we know him because he's in the news all the time, right? Tata Group chairman. Now there are, okay, after his retirement, other people have come, this, that. There are so many things, but a key group, a face for that entire group. So, key group of people in an organization constitute to what is called management. This is one definition. Then, so you are referring to people on one side. On the other side, somebody is coming and, giving you a shake hand and saying that, congratulations, you manage the situation very well. In this context, you manage the situation very well. Are they referring to people? Definitely not, because they said you manage the situation well. So how did you manage? What did you do to manage the situation well? So the second definition for management would always refer to set of interrelated functions. Set of interrelated functions. Now the big question that arises is, what are these interrelated functions? These interrelated functions will obviously go basically in an order. They're called planning. They start with planning. I think all of you know the word plan. Everybody makes plans here, right? So planning. Then we have organizing, which is about gathering all the resources. Like we say, organizing a party. We're planning to go to a movie. You're not going to movie now. We're planning to go to a movie. So futuristic action. We are just taking a decision on it now. We're not doing anything. Okay. We're just taking a decision on it now. Planning, organizing. Then one of the most important aspects of the entire context of management is this word called staffing. You're going to learn more about this as we go, but staffing, for now, you can remember it as a very simple one liner: putting the right person in the right place. Might just want to, write that for you. Staffing is putting the right person in right place. But what is the big challenge there? Who is the right person and what is the right place? Finding out that would be the actual challenge. So, right person, right place. What is the right place? Because there are so many positions in the organization that have to be staffed. So, what is the right one? Okay, planning, organizing, staffing. Then comes a very important step called as leading or directing. And it is leading or directing. I think all of you are 100% aware of what is called movies. So for every movie, there'll be somebody called director. That means he's the one who drives the whole episode, right? So that person who drives the entire organization is called the director. So that activity is called direction. Planning, organizing, staffing, leading or directing or direction. And most importantly, let me tell you, this is one thing that many people don't do properly or don't agree. But according to me, this is the most important thing of management. And if you want to be a good manager, this is what you're supposed to learn. It is called control. Okay. So control is a technical word here. So I'll make that word simple for you. Control means taking corrective action. Taking corrective action. Now I'll tell you why I told you control is a little tricky here. As you can see the meaning that I wrote there as taking corrective action. Please tell me, when will somebody take corrective action? When will generally somebody take corrective action? When they go wrong. The problem with many individuals is they don't accept that they went wrong. Could be ego, could be confidence, right? Or could be a rude behavior, could be anything. But some people's nature is like that. Businessmen know that too. They're very proud about the fact that they started a business, they put a lot of effort, they did something. All this is great. But when it comes to actually accepting a failure, not many people come forward and say, okay, what has gone is gone. Let me take corrective action. The moment you agree to take corrective action, it means you are also, in other words, you might not directly accept it, but when I'm saying, okay, I'll rectify it, it means you're admitting that you went wrong, right? And many people don't really want to do that. When they don't really want to do that, that's where collapse will start. That's a starting point of a collapse. Because when people fail, they don't fail all at once. They fail multiple places and the result come once. Like I keep generally telling all the students, you don't fail in the exam, you fail back home only, right? When you go to the exam to prove that you are failed, that's all. Because you can't go and fail in the exam that day, unless it could be an exceptional case, whereby it's a very bad day, or like you're very prepared for the exam and on the day of the exam you felt really sick and you were not able to write. Unless some exceptions like that are there, those people who fail because of content problems, no, you don't forget content or you don't misunderstand content in the exam hall. All that has happened back then. You neither heard classes properly nor you didn't revise properly. All this could be the reason. So cumulatively you have failed so many days. But now you want to bring that on paper. The fact that you failed. Now sometimes I'm harsh, but this is the reality. Okay. So when you're saying that, okay, now this is what it is all about, and then you're realizing that I will not correct myself, it is of no use. Okay. So you look in the book actually as to what this is and how this is. But this entire topic that I discussed with you, this gives you a perspective of what these two words are: strategy and management. Because these two words come together to form a very beautiful concept called as strategic management, which we are going to discuss in very detail, because that's what the whole subject is all about. Okay, so guys, that's it with strategy and that's it with management. So strategy talks about the action plan. It's about not today tomorrow, it's a long range thing. And here on the other side, management represents not one but two things. It's talking about a key group of individual, and it is also talking about a set of interrelated functions. Now let me just take you back to what we have to see here. Let's go ahead with what they also talked about: introduction to strategy and strategic management. Let's straight away go to the very first part of our discussion, the introduction to the concept of strategy and strategic management. Very clearly something is given there. Strategy, as I just told you, it's a set of goal directed actions. You're not doing something for the sake of doing it, you're doing it with a purpose. Okay, you're not doing something just for the sake of doing it. You want to do it because there is a purpose. It is a goal directed action a firm takes to gain and sustain. Now two things here: first gain, then sustain. Over a period of time, I will use the word competitive advantage, because one thing that you need to understand is this word monopoly is not a real life situation, right? Monopoly is true only in books. Monopoly is a concept explained in books. In real life, in practical situation, monopoly is not a real life situation, because if you start something, maybe, yeah, temporary monopoly is, no doubt, temporary monopoly is a real life situation. For some time you can be the monopoly, but that will not last forever. Okay, because sometime or the other there is some factor called as immutability that will come attack, and you will lose your position as monopoly. Okay, so what are we supposed to do in business? You have to gain competitive advantage over others. In comparison to others, you have to be better, or in comparison to others, your product has to be bought. How will they do that? Strategy, that is why is a goal related action a firm takes first to gain. Underline the word gain. First we'll gain what? Superior performance, that is better one. And I'll tell you one more thing here, which many of you might have seen in many fields, like for example, movies, cricket. There'll be one movie star who comes up and does a movie, like a movie artist, not even a star. And then after that, that movie would turn out to be a hit, everything fantastic. But after that, you'll not find them much. They'll vanish. Okay, or maybe one, two movies, three movies, a streak, like on social media, it's a lot of hype, and they'll be like, these are going to be the next best thing. Just like in cricket, some player comes in, scores a century. It's like, yeah, this is the future of Indian cricket, this, that, like everything they'll talk. And then suddenly, after a few months, they won't be there in the map. I don't want to take names anyway, but I'm just telling all of you can relate to at least one person like that who you thought will be a super shining bright star in future, and gone. Know why? Because they gained an advantage, but they were not able to hold it in the long run. So the second part of our tough job is to sustain. Is to sustain. There's a person by name Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker is considered to be the father of management, and in one of his theories is very clearly mentioned that the aim of any business should not just be to keep creating customers and running here and there. Create and retain. Okay, so one of Peter Drucker's very basic conclusions about business, he says every business should create and retain customers. So if you create, go on, keep creating customers without retaining them. A lot of people will leave you. And okay, so that is what I'm telling here. It's not just about talking loud in the air. It is not just about shouting that we are the best. You got to prove it. It's told in the next paragraph anyway. So let's see here. Study the goal, a set of goal directed actions, one to gain and two to sustain superior performance in comparison to. Now, whenever they use this word relative, no, you can always take it as in comparison to competitors. To achieve superior performance, companies compete for resources. Now, I would want all of you to understand this word resources. I think all of you have studied economics in the past a little bit. I just want you to recollect Lionel Robbins' definition of economics, which is on scarcity. What did he say? That human wants are so unlimited, while the means to satisfy the wants are very limited. I think all of you know this. And the Lionel Robbins definition goes on to talk about the scarcity aspect, saying that if only resources were abundant, all our needs be satisfied. But the entire competition arises only because these resources are limited in number, right? So first of all, I want all of you to know what these word resources mean. Resources are generally 5 M's: men, material, men, material, money, machinery, and market. So men, material, money, machinery, and market. These five, they are titled as resources. I think for us to fall into the groove of this subject, there are certain words that we understand. So when I say sometimes that you might already know, and if you don't know, you don't have to panic. You will eventually learn it. So if you didn't study this word in economics anywhere, or if you didn't know it, and this is not going to be the last time anyway. So there are so many places in the future also where I will tell you must have studied, you must have known, you must have heard this, and if you didn't, don't panic. At the end of that statement only I will explain what it is. Okay, so it's not like I'm going to assume that you know everything or you know all this. I am just in the first part I will just tell that you must know, or you may be knowing. You don't know, no harm, you will anyway learn it in the next 2 minutes. So since this being the introduction chapter, I'm telling you that in management I've already told that very much in all classes in the past also. Okay, that you need not panic if you don't know something. Just a reminder. So a strategy is good. A strategy is good when it enables a firm. When is a strategy good? When it enables a firm to achieve superior performance, and that strategy should consist of three very important elements. Can you underline the word three elements? Now, what are the three elements? One, a diagnosis of competitive challenge. What is that is challenging when I compete with my competitors? Because if you can do everything better than your competitors, that will result in what is called as competitive advantage. What would that result in? That would result in something called as competitive advantage. It is a diagnosis of competitive challenge. Two, strategy will turn out to be a guiding policy to address the competitive challenge. Now, once you know that there is a competitive challenge, this very thing called strategy will help you as a guiding policy. And the third point that they're talking about strategy is a set of coherent action. Normally, coherent means together. In this case, you can say combined actions. In other words, multiple aspects or multiple actions brought together is called as coherent. Okay, can you please underline that? And if you want, you can write on there also. Coherent is combined. In this particular line, you can use that word combined action. Set of things taken together, combined. Set of coherent actions to implement a firm's guiding policy. Okay. Strategic managers should remember, very important point, guys. You might want to mark a start at this point. What do they want you to understand? Strategic managers should remember that strategy is not about shouting great things. Okay. Strategy is neither about making great statements, neither about making great statements, nor being able to face a competitive challenge. Listen carefully. Once again, I would like to explain that strategic managers should remember, putting something on paper is not strategy. Shouting something is not strategy. Neither it is about making great statements, because a statement will still remain a statement if you're not successful. Or being able to face a competitive challenge. Okay. So if I'm able to face a challenge, that is not called strategy. That is my action that determines it. Okay. So let's talk about so many things put together will make up a strategy. And our strategy is good or bad. It cannot be measured on any scale. Out of 10, this strategy gets 8. Out of 10, that strategy gets 7. We don't have anything to measure like that. Okay. There are no scales here. So there are a lot of places where we mention or use the word strategy. You can see that first that is given. People casually refer to a host of different policies and initiatives as some sort of strategy. Now, when you really look into what sort of strategy are we talking about, you can see there some sort of strategy. You have pricing strategy, internet strategy, alliance strategy, operation strategy, IT strategy, brand strategy, marketing, HR. We will discuss all these are there in detail later chapters. We will discuss all of them also in a very detailed manner. Okay. All these elements may be necessary, not one of them. Can you see there clearly? All these elements may be necessary part of the firm's functional and global initiatives to support its competitive strategy, but simply these elements are not sufficient to achieve competitive advantage. What are required? I will take you through in the upcoming chapters, because if you can match all these and have all these and say because I have all this I will become better, that's not a working strategy. And let me tell you one more thing, this concept of strategic management is an open book concept, which means it's open to everybody in the world. So if you follow this, you get competitive advantage. If somebody follows that, they will get competitive advantage. And you cannot tell that they should not follow. It's a concept available in book. No, everybody can follow. Okay. So like I told you, are we better than the others? Like that, you can measure competitive advantage only as a comparative aspect. You cannot tell he is 8 on 10 on competitive advantage. So conclusion is, a firm's competitive advantage is always in relation to other. It is always relative, underline, not absolute. That means in bracket you can write on, it is not numeric. Okay, it's not an absolute number like 4 plus 3 is 7. That is an absolute number. Here it is not like that. A firm's competitive advantage is always relative, not absolute. Okay, to assess competitive advantage, we compare one firm with other firm. This comparison aspect is called benchmarking. What is it called? Benchmarking. We take the best business practices in the market and where we stand. We compare both. If we are slightly below that, then always our quest will be to think from here to here and achieve that. That's called benchmarking. Later we can see that also. To assess competitive advantage, we can compare firm's performance to a benchmark. What can we compare it to? We can compare it to a benchmark, that is either the performance of other firms, so that normally is considered as standard performance of other firms, or you can as well take as an industry average. Anything can be taken as a benchmark. We'll have a different discussion on benchmarks later, but I'm saying always you need to look up to it. Now, like say 40 is a pass mark. Why should I get pass marks? I'll target 60. So maybe I'm aspiring for more, 70, 80. These numbers are your benchmark. You can set your own benchmarks. There is nothing to do with saying that I will have to achieve this only, or I'll have to achieve that one. It's always a wider aspect. So either you can try and achieve or match the industry's average, or you can compare with other people in the industry. Two things. Something should drive as motivation for us. Okay, a firm that achieves superior performance. Now, you are doing much better when compared to your competitors. A firm that achieves superior performance relative to, that is in comparison to, other competitors in the same industry. Okay, relative to, in the same industry or the industry average. So you are better than industry average or you are superior to others, then you are said to be having what is called as competitive advantage. What are you said to have? Competitive advantage. Put a start at that point, because that is a very important conclusion. Second point below this also is a very important point. If you have competitive advantage, sooner or later it will vanish. Sir, why are you saying that it will vanish? Can we not have competitive advantage for a long time? The problem is people will imitate. But I'll give you a very good example for this. Right now, there are great cricketers. Right, there are good cricketers, they're great cricketers, and then there is Sachin Tendulkar. Now, somebody who okay, he had a share of failures. We are not discussing that. I'm saying, and here it's not about whether somebody is my personal favorite or not. Guys, generally you have to understand one thing. I use a lot of people as examples in class. Doesn't mean they are my favorites, or there is a reason why I'm using them. They fit to that example very aptly. So I use, that's all. I mean, okay, because now it doesn't matter whether it's Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli or MS Dhoni. Somebody fits in our example, so we are going with it. Now, sometime back, as I was discussing with you in the class, we were talking about one point, that people shine like for one movie or two movies and then they vanish. Okay. Now you think of somebody who's in the likes of Amitabh Bachchan or Rajnikant or Kamal Hassan, or for that matter anybody who's been there in the industry for so many years, just like how Sachin Tendulkar played cricket for 24 years. Now that is what I call sustainable competitive advantage. You are good, no doubt. Okay, you are not just good, you are very good. You are holding that for a long period of time. So the star point that we just highlighted says that strategy should be used to gain what is called competitive advantage. But once you gain competitive advantage, it is not simply going to stop there. Okay, you have to hold that competitive advantage. So at this point of time, I would also want to quote Dr. Abdul Kalam. I think all of you know Dr. Abdul Kalam is achieved greatness. And he said one point where he says, you're not supposed to relax after your first failure, because if you relax after your first failure, then it's complete giving up. Same way, but he adds up one very important thing. You're not supposed to relax even after your first victory, because once you relax after your first victory and later if you fail, you know what people will tell? That first victory also came to you by luck. Never relax after your first victory, because if you fail later, completely the first victory will be called as luck. They will discredit the entire hard work that you put in. That's 100% true, right? So what are we supposed to do in that case? Continue to work hard. Continue to keep the relevance of who you are and where you are. Okay, a firm that is able to outperform the competitors and industry average over a prolonged period. Now, I hope all of you understood why I was dragging that point so much in depth, because this is called sustainable competitive advantage. So, guys, to sum up, if you do well, you will get competitive advantage. You use a strategy and you're able to use that strategy to get better than the others, then it's called that you have competitive advantage. But when you have that competitive advantage for a long, long time, that is called sustainable competitive advantage. And you know what the best part is? Our quest is not just to get competitive advantage. Our quest is to get sustainable competitive advantage, because competitive advantage, whether you like or not, people can get it off some way or the other. Like that, like I just said, you can, like shine off here and there, but how will you win? Repeatedly, again and again, relentlessly. You know, Sachin Tendulkar goes to practice even when he was playing in the last few days of his career. Okay, like that Roger Federer at the age of, like 38, 39, still working so hard in practice after being a legend for so many years. Why? Because they know that that routine should not be skipped. So that's what gives them that competitive advantage. You know why many kids go up to the great level and stop there? Because of that reason only. After a particular point, they'll be like, yeah, now I achieved greatness, I'll stop. And that is not going to help anything. Okay. So let's finally conclude this point talking about the negative side. See, always it's not good about reading only the positives and clapping about yes, entity good. What if entity can't? So, guys, a good business is something that analyzes both. So, take into consideration if a firm underperforms its rivals. Underperforms here means firm is doing slightly below when it compares to the rivals. Rivals are doing very well, or maybe you are falling below par this time. Then it has competitive disadvantage. Obviously, there is something that you need to bother about and work. If you have a disadvantage, so somebody is getting the better out of us, so we need to just handle that situation. Two or more firms that perform at the same level, they are said to have competitive parity. Parity basically is equality here. So competitive parity, three situations. You're better than the industry average, competitive advantage. You are at par with the industry average and other competitors, competitive parity. You go down below, competitive disadvantage. And all of this is because of that strategy that you have chosen. An effective strategy, if you want a great strategy, an effective strategy requires some trade-offs. What is this trade-off? Like, it's more like I won't call it sacrifice, but you give something, then only you get something. It's more of that sort. Okay, an effective strategy requires that strategic trade-offs should be recognized and addressed. Like, say for example, what do you want? I think that was where I started the class also with. Do you want value addition with this class, or do you just want, like that my syllabus has to be done rapid? Then there is. So you decide what do you want. You want to create value. So The reason why I go into each point, teach in detail, depth is once you finish the classes, you should not go back to basics and look like, do I know this? Do I? You should be so strong and confident that, okay, this fellow explained us line by line. Now we know what these concepts are, we understand. Then the ball is in your court. You have to do the revision. Okay. Otherwise, every paragraph, every topic, and tell you a summary of that and say this is what the overall topic is about. That will neither serve your purpose nor mine. It's not going to, in any way help. So then what's the next best thing that we are supposed to do? Try and understand. So what am I trading on? I'm okay giving or putting a few extra hours of time, but I want value. Those are extra hours of time is going to cost you rent, water, electricity, everything. It will cost us the organization, so we don't want to trade off that. Of course. So that is why they're telling you the effective strategy requires certain strategic trade-offs be recognized and addressed. For example, between value creation and cost to create that value. If you don't spend that cost to create value, you will never be able to create value. Some people know they'll create and sell products. Low quality also, okay, sir. Create and sell, that is enough. So the debate is not about creating a product and selling. Are you willing to create and sell something that is worthwhile? That's a big question. Okay. So an effective strategy, you got to, always it's a trade-off. Right? If you want quality, many times you'll have to end up paying more. So the question is, no, sir, I want a cheap product. So do you want a cheap product? Do you want a good product? All is in your hands. If you want a good product, you'll obviously have to pay more. So you'll have to trade off a little money for great quality. If you compromise a little bit on quality, you can get the product even for cheaper. So this adjustment that you are doing, no, that is called trade-off. The key to successful strategy, ma, there is no, okay, though in the book it is printed and given like that and all that, practically speaking, there is no printed successful strategy. That way I can copy everybody and I can become, great, right? So that's not good. For them, it might have worked. For us, it may or may not work. Okay. The key, the key to successful strategy is to combine. The key to successful strategy is to combine a set of activities to stake out a unique strategic position. By the time we finish the syllabus, you will know how to do that. A unique strategic position within a industry. You are going to learn a lot of techniques, going to learn a lot of analysis to do, competitive analysis, portfolio analysis, trying to understand and compare ourselves with others. And we are going to do all of this so that we have a clarity on where we are and who we are. And then position ourselves in the industry in such a way that nobody can reach us just like that. Okay. Finally, what is it they're concluding here? Competitive advantage has to come from performing different activities. Either you do something different, the beautiful lining, see there. Performing different activities or performing same activities differently. Perform the same activities differently than rivals. Okay, either you do something very different. Okay, one, two things here. Okay, how does competitive advantage come? Competitive advantage, it comes in two ways. So when we are talking about competitive advantage, it comes by way of two things. Okay, do same thing what competitors are doing, but do it better, or do something which is absolutely different. Okay, so you can see there clearly. I wanted to mark 1 and 2 for that. Perform different activities. Either don't do that, do something else. One, perform different activities. Two, do the same but do it differently. Okay, perform the same activities differently than rivals. So that eventually has to be written here. 1 and 2, competitive advantages, they come in two ways. One, perform different activities compared to competitors. Okay, or perform same activities as competitors in a different way. Okay, so either perform different activities or perform same aspects in different way. Either of this will get you what is called as a competitive advantage. Okay. Ideally, these activities reinforce means put back one another, reinforce one another rather than create trade-offs. Since clear strategic positioning, are you going to do A, are you going to do B? That is, are you going to do one or two? Clear strategic positioning requires trade-offs. Strategy is as much as about deciding what not to do as much as how it is what to do. Did you focus on this angle anytime? Many people only focus on what should we do, what should we do, what should we do, right? Like in an exam, how to pass, how not to fail. That is also a very good strategy, right? So again, strategy is not just about deciding what to do, it's also about what not to do. This line, strategy is as much about deciding what not to do as much it is about deciding what to do. Very, very important. Simple, straight. Because I just told you some time back about Lionel Robinson's story, right? Because resources are limited. Because resources are limited, managers must be careful. Managers must be careful while considering their strategic choices in the quest for competitive advantage. Everybody has a quest for competitive advantage. What are you trading off is a very, very important thing. Is my trade off way bigger than what I achieve? Then in practical sense that will only be called as loss, but otherwise you'll be able to achieve whatever you want. I think again, we cannot please everybody in the world. You have to remember that. The very first part of your book only it is still. Don't try to. Some people try to achieve, like 100 out of 100, everything all the time. Perfection is good, but in the process of achieving that, we'll unnecessarily put more pressure. Sure, this is again, like I said, not just a topic of learning here. It is a life lesson. What is that? Trying to be everything to everybody. Trying to be everything to everybody will result in inferior performance. Remember that. Okay. So not just learning management, like I said, you're also learning some life lessons. First of which is this. Trying to be everything to everybody will result in poor performance. Why poor performance? Obviously because you cannot satisfy everybody more. Okay. And the process of trying to create customers and satisfy everything of what you want, you're only going to create more troubles and problems for your own self. So, in addition to operational effectiveness, marketing skills, and other functional expertise, all strengthen and create what is called a unique strategic position. Creates what? A unique strategic position. Those capabilities, though, do not substitute for competitive strategy. So you should still have competitive strategy and make sure whatever it is. Please understand the conclusion here. Strategy is for everybody in the organization. Okay, I want all of you to take this conclusion home. Very important points, right? Strategy is not just the reserve of top management alone. Everybody, right from Mukesh Ambani to somebody working in Jamnagar factory of Reliance, everybody, daily wage worker, or it could be supervisor, or it could be the floor manager, anybody there. Okay, strategy is important at all levels. I will not repeat this again and again, but I want all of you to remember this very well because this is such a very important question that people often tend to make mistakes with, and I don't want you to make that mistake again. Okay, so despite telling strategy is relevant to whom, people will simply say strategy is relevant to corporate level or top level. Please understand, I want you to come out of that shell. Yes, corporate level people are the ones who generally make up certain things, but it is not just that they who do it. Okay, strategy is not just the preserve of top management. Strategy is also very relevant to middle and lower level managers. Middle and lower level managers have to work within their organization's strategy, meeting the objectives set by the strategy and observing the constraints. Okay, constraints are something that stop you. We will discuss more about constraints in the upcoming part, but for now I'm just saying, when you say constraint means the something that stops you from growing. Okay, so you have to manage the constraints and grow over that. Managers have to communicate the strategy to their teams. This is very important. And how will they do that? That also is there. This is just the introduction session, ma. Basically, I'm just reading out and giving you basic idea of what is strategy and what they have gone by. Okay, we'll also see what is management. Just understanding. That's all. How to do all these aspects, later topics will unfold. We'll learn everything. Okay, managers have to communicate their strategy to teams and will achieve greater performance from them the more convincing the strategy is. Because if some of your employees are like, "Hey, that fellow will tell like that only, what is that strategy?" They're not convinced, then they won't give their 100%. So you have to explain them the strategy in such a way that it is more convincing. They are in interpreting it. Indeed, middle and lower level managers can increasingly play a part in shaping up a strategy. Sometime back, I told you that learning is much a process of all this. You have to keep learning from time to time. Huh? So you have to, later you will also understand from the subject that middle and lower level managers, when these people get ideas and when these people tell something, no, that is also supposed to be workably used. You cannot go and tell that, what is this nonsense? Who are you? How did you tell this? You are a daily wage worker. How can you tell? Instead of doing all of that, it's much better that you give an opportunity to everybody, right? Irrespective of where they come from and what they do, it is important for us to understand who they are. Okay, and why are they telling this? Will Simple question. Whatever they told, will it add value to the organization? You should be only bothered about that much, and you should not bother about where it came from. Later, there's a person in management by name Chandler. Okay, Chandler's theory says that the merit of the idea carries more weight. The merit of the idea carries more weight than the place it came from. Okay, so whether it came from top level, middle level, all of that doesn't matter. It matters as to what is the idea and what is the merit of the idea. We will see that also. So I hope all of you have understood things till here in terms of what a strategy is, what competitive advantage is, and how you have to balance that out. Now, couple of more paragraphs which are explaining you about what business is all about and how it goes on. If a great leader is there, I told you the leader is very important. Leadership, as you can see in the points that I wrote some time back: planning, organizing, staffing, leading or directing. No matter how good activities are in an organization, unless the leader is great, it's not going to be pushed up further. So an important implication for the strategic leader is the recognition that effective corporate governance and solid business ethics, corporate governance, which is about managing the entity, and solid business ethics are very critical to gaining and sustaining what? To gaining and sustaining competitive advantage. If you don't stick to these, then obviously you will be on the losing end, which could again possibly create that issue. Governance and ethics are closely combined. Governance and ethics, both these are closely intertwined. Intertwined means combined. In an intersection of setting the right organizational core values and then ensuring compliance. A variety of corporate governance mechanisms can turn out to be effectively used in addressing the principal agent problem. What is that principal agent problem and how it helps? Again, which also we will be seeing later. These mechanisms tend to focus on, the words monitoring and controlling. So, out and out in whatever we discussed, did they give you the same words as to what I explained you? Planning, organizing, staffing. Now you saw they are all intertwined, leading or directing. Now they are obviously using this word controlling, because nobody can achieve success without taking corrective actions. You may fail, but failing is one part of the story. They will always have to make better than that. Okay. These mechanisms tend to focus on monitoring, controlling, and providing incentives, and they must be complemented by a strong code of conduct, right? Like how the professional institutes of cost accountants, Professional Institute of Chartered Accountants, company secretaries, all these have a strong code of conduct and strategic leaders who act with integrity. Corporate governance is a system of mechanisms to direct and control. Now, what is governing normally? It's about monitoring, right? A state will have chief minister and a bunch of cabinet ministers who will do all the work, but there is one person on top of all of them, the first citizen of the state, the governor. So, if chief minister is being appointed, he'll take the oath from governor, right? When chief minister resigns, he goes and gives that letter to the governor, correct? So basically, these are points that you have to, or you have to keep in mind. There is somebody who's a monitoring authority who has this whole watch, right? That person is the governor. Like that, corporate means business. Governance, corporate governance is an aspect that overlooks or oversees this entire thing. It's a system or mechanism to direct and control an enterprise in order to ensure that it pursues the strategic goals successfully and legally. Do it good way and do it the legal way. In the name of becoming successful, again, you should not become corrupt. Okay, so that's how we are going to push this point into the fact that we are mentioning there, to ensure that it pursues its strategic goals successfully and legally. Corporate governance is about checks and balances. When something is going out, bring them back and asking tough questions at the right time. Okay, so this is a mechanism to control things. This is called corporate governance. Now, one more very important thing, as they told in code of conduct, is ethics. Right and wrong versus good and bad. Okay, sometimes you think that this is what is the right thing to do, but that may not be the good thing. Okay, sometimes when you think about what is good for everybody, it may not be the right thing to do in the organization and time. This is a very big dilemma. We will talk about it. You need to be emotionally intelligent to handle these kind of things. A lot of interesting concepts are coming further, so let's just wrap up this discussion here by just understanding what it is. Business ethics are agreed upon code of conduct in business based on what is a society, or what does the society accept, the societal norms. Business ethics, right, lay the foundation and provide training for behavior. What sort of a behavior? If I do whatever I feel like, that's not called being ethical. If I do what is the right thing, following the law, abiding the law legally, right? So I'll just give you a simple example. Now you are at a signal. Okay, 9 o'clock is your office. 8:55 you are at the signal. Now you know that if you breach the signal, the opposite building only is your office, so you can breach and go off. So you'll not lose your salary, because if you go at 9:05, your organization, let's say, has a policy that they'll cut salary. Now tell me, just because you went 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 5 minutes late and losing half a day's salary, you are very heartbroken about it, and that too for no fault of yours. It's a signal. But when you start from home, you have to budget for all these signals and start. But traffic delays are not in our hands. Now tell me, will you break the signal and go into the office and sign it before 9 o'clock because you want to get the full salary and that is the right thing to do? Will you do that? Or because you are at the signal, you will be a law abiding citizen, stand there and accept that it's my mistake today, and go at 9:05 and sign and take half day's salary? Did you understand now? Doing the right thing versus doing the good thing. Okay, here doing the right thing, what is legally correct, will make you lose half day salary. That's very bad for you. Oh, sir, what's good for me and my family also? We all work on my salary only, so I don't lose my salary. Even if I breach a law, who's going to know? So if you are taking that part light, saying that okay, sir, law, no, nobody's. But what if a traffic police is sitting there with a camera and he takes a photo of you and puts a fine? You will pay fine here also, and there also. You might end up going late and paying, losing. So I'm just saying situation can get complicated. One right, okay, from your perspective, maybe somebody is wrong. So what is good for you and what is right for somebody, they need not match. This is the point that I'm trying to bring into. Okay, so behavior that is consistent with the principles, norms, standards of business practice that have been agreed by the society. That is what is considered to be ethical. These principles, norms, and standards of business practice, underline the word, differ to some degree in different cultures around the globe. But a large number of research studies have found that some notions like being true, being fair, honesty, sincerity, reciprocity, you get something, you always have to give back something, and reciprocity are universal norms. You can underline those words: being fair, being honest, sincere, straightforward. When you take something, give back something, reciprocate. Okay, as such, many of these values have to be codified into a law. Now, ethics is more about good, but when that is being codified and made to follow, law and ethics, definitely they're not synonymous. The distinction is very important, and it's not always understood by the general public. Why is it not understood? Because some people mistake the law to be ethics. If you are lawful, it means you are ethical. That's what people think. Okay, no, it is definitely not like that, and I think I just explained you why. Law is about compliance, ethics is about good and bad. Okay, so staying within the law is a minimum acceptable standard. A note of caution is therefore in order. A manager's actions can be completely legal but ethically questionable. Did you understand what I just told you? You may be completely well within the line of law and you can take a course of action. I didn't do anything illegal, you can say. Of course, you didn't do anything illegal, but because you did something, like for example, if you are the employer, you have a right to remove people from their jobs. So you removed them. You didn't do anything illegal. Your actions as a manager are completely legal. Nobody can blame you for that. But in a dire crisis, if you remove people like that, what will happen to them? What will happen to their families? So you may be completely legal, but ethically it is just a questionable aspect. Okay, so that is how law, ethics, all of these are kind of balanced here. So guys, I think we will break this session here because you studied so much about trying to understand what is strategy, what is management, competitive advantage. I'll allow you some time to process all of these things so that you know what we can do in the next session is to pick up the concept of strategy in detail as to what the concept of strategy is. No matter it, like I said, it's a slow start. It should be that, because once you get used to me into how this management concept is going to be explained, later things can go smooth. I have a complete plan and there is a well designed plan for how to go about with the subject. So you know, like, you don't have to bother about uh, how fast or how slow we are going or what we're doing. You just stay very focused on what the content is all about, and by the end of our classes, I'm pretty sure you will be able to make the most of it. That I can assure. I'll see you guys in the next class with the concept of strategy, and we'll go further with the concept of strategic management and move on. See you in the next class, guys.